Welcome back to the Call on Our Shot podcast. We are live every Wednesday at 10 a.m. Eastern time. I'm Austin, joined by Logan. And normally we're here with our friend Sam, but we had to give him the boot off the podcast after his upset picks, man. He got told you guys to bet on the Titans. Now we can't allow that, but all joking aside, maybe he'll be back next weekend. He was just busy tonight. Logan, how are you doing? And if you're new to the channel, click that subscribe button. We appreciate it. We just passed 14,000 subscribers and we did our 14,000 subscriber parlay giveaway. And that is why we are here today. I'm wearing a Kristaps Porzingis jersey. And if you are either new to the channel and you're like, why is this guy wearing a Kristaps jersey? This is an NFL video. This is a podcast. Kristaps Porzingis, we did our 14,000 parlay and he was the one leg that didn't hit. And it was a barn burner. It hurts, but Logan, how are you doing today?
Well, I was alongside, you last night. We were going back and forth texting, and I haven't had a parlay with so much hype. There were so many people all in the DMs just rooting us on, and we all wanted to see that parlay cash. So I was doing better if that parlay would have cashed. We'd all be rich. But you know what? It is what it is. That is gambling in a nutshell. Just so close yet so far away. I know you probably had trouble sleeping because you're like, what could I have tweaked in that parlay to possibly have made it cash? Yeah, don't trust Kristaps Porzingis, I guess.
Yeah, I learned my lesson. I did. It was tough to go to sleep last night. I really wanted to cash for the people and pay out the winnings. But hey, when we get to 15,000 subscribers, we're going to do another one. So click that subscribe button. We're closing in. We're already a quarter of the way there. So we appreciate all you guys love. But yeah, it was tough. It was tough to sleep last night. I was just thinking, what if I just did Jared Allen, double in a win? Like that would have been plus 300 value, which is what Kristaps' leg was. It hurts. It hurts a lot, but we're going to get back after it. We're going to start doing more parlays in the videos, but today we're going to talk about a lot of different things. We're going to talk about NFL week 12 takeaways, talk about week 13, give our upset picks. We're also going to talk about college football, maybe even and answer your guys' social questions that you sent to us on Twitter. So make sure you're following us on all our social medias down below. We appreciate you guys all showing that love. But without further ado, we're going to push Kristaps Porzingis aside and we're going to get the show rolling. And Logan, I'm going to let you start it off with your biggest takeaway from this weekend in the NFL.
Sam is not here, so someone's got to tote the Green Bay Packers love. What I saw from Aaron Rodgers was an absolutely great performance. I feel like everyone should run out and bet him to be the MVP favorite because at the time, we're recording this video, Tom Brady is, but Aaron Rodgers is a man on a mission, as Sam and the narrative's been on this podcast most of the year. Some of the throws he was making versus the Rams was just straight up impressive. I don't care what ailment he had with his toe. You were seeing them, Austin. He was just absolutely threading the ball through defenders, making it look so easy. I don't think there's a quarterback in the league playing at a higher level than Aaron Rodgers. And the Rams, what a disappointment. I mean, the score wasn't all that close, right? The Rams just never got it going. I think the Green Bay Packers might be the front runners in the NFC, led by an amazing season from Aaron Rodgers.
Aaron Rodgers has been ridiculous this season. Now, I was going to bring out this stat for Sam, since he has the Packers homer on the podcast, that Aaron Rodgers has the second best touchdown to interception rate in the season so far. The person who's leading it would be, of course, his NFC. What are they? The NFC North rival, Kirk Cousins. But that would be. I've liked what I've seen out of the Packers, and I think it's a 1 or 2, maybe even 3-leg horse race in the NFC so far. I think you got Rodgers and the Packers. The one thing that I'm a little bit concerned, they don't really have necessarily a second wide receiver weapon that I trust 100%. Randall Cobb, I do trust a little bit. Like obviously Devontae Adams, he's 1A, 1B, 1C. He's the first, second, third option. But then it's that next option that I really don't trust too much. Like Randall Cobb obviously has that connection, but he got banged up a little bit on Sunday. And then Alan Lazard, I just don't trust him all too much. And neither do I trust MVS. So we'll see. Now, we do have to give him credit. Now, that run game is looking pretty dominant with AJ Dillon and Aaron Jones, that two tandem backs that are both completely different, but provide something unique and elite. So I'm excited to see what they do on that front. But I would say, you know what? My front runner right now in the NFC is my Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now, they were my early front runner at the beginning of the season to win the Super Bowl. And truthfully, I think this is a two horse race. I think these are the two top division teams. Now, I understand you can make a division argument for the Cardinals. We haven't really seen Kyler Murray in a couple of weeks. They were on bye last week, but I liked what I saw out of the Bucs and what they did. They covered on the road, something they hadn't done all season. And of course, it came at my demise as I took the Colts plus 3.5. Leonard Fournette takes in a touchdown with like 18 seconds remaining. and I just face palmed. But the Bucs in that run game looked good. One concern, they didn't really get Mike Evans going, but it didn't really matter because they had Rob Gronkowski back to 5-10 years ago, Rob Gronkowski, and they look dominant. So I liked what the Bucs. What did you think about the Bucs this weekend?
Absolutely. You mentioned Rob Gronkowski. You know, I'm telling my family, they're Bucs fans too, right? They're from Florida, so it makes sense that they tuned in heavy for this game. And I was telling them, I was like, Rob Gronkowski is actually the difference maker for that offense, because not only is he Tom Brady's security blanket, right? You know, every clutch third down, Gronk's pretty much open across the middle. He seems like he always is, but he's also really good at run blocking. Leonard Fournette wasn't getting contact until like 5 yards plus, you know, with Rob Gronkowski on the field, down blocking. I mean, he's an absolute tank. That offense looks a lot better, and they are getting Antonio Brown back, something you didn't mention. I definitely like the way the Bucs offense is trending. We never had really concerns there. It's the defense. And you know what? They tightened up when they needed to against the Colts. That was a really impressive victory to me. Now you can kind of say, Colts, why aren't you running the ball with Jonathan Taylor more? And I agree with that. I mean, come on, that was a boneheaded move to not run the ball with Taylor as much as they did. But that being said, Bucs are trending up. Same with the Packers. I think it wouldn't be crazy to say those are the 1 and 2 teams in the NFC that should be there when it's all said and done.
Yeah, both teams should easily win the divisions after, you know, you saw the NFC South. You thought maybe, you know, the Saints could really, you know, maybe try to creep up on the Buccaneers, but not after what we've seen the past couple of weeks. They are on Thursday Night Football this week against the Cowboys. More on that in a little bit. But yeah, I think these are 2 dominant teams. Now we'll see. Right now the Cardinals they got it in the bag. If they win out, they get the number 1 seed because of their record, but still, I don't know. It's going to be close. I would pick probably these 2 teams over that Arizona Cardinals team to make it out of the NFC and potentially match up in the NFC Championship game. And just like they did they match up? I can't remember. I know they match up in the playoffs. Was it in the NFC Championship last year?
Yep. Yeah, it was.
When they didn't when they kicked the field goal instead of letting Rodgers attempt the 4th down or whatever it was in the red zone. Yep. So, I mean, hey, that would be awesome. I mean, nothing gets better than watching Rodgers and Tom Brady go after it in the playoffs. I mean, probably 2 of the top 4 quarterbacks of all time. I mean, I don't know exactly, maybe talent wise, but yeah, it was insane to watch both those teams do it. And yeah, you're right. The Bucs defense finally it wasn't great. Giving up 31 points is not, you know, you're not going to win a lot of games giving up 31, but still they look decent. They got those stops when they needed to. And really the biggest thing, this was on the road, a place they have struggled all year long. Props to them for getting a win on the road. And yes, you're right. Rob Gronkowski, probably the best blocking tight end in the NFL. Now let's move on. Do you have any other takeaways you saw from week 12? Anything else you think we should bring up?
On the AFC side, I liked the bounce back performance we got from the Bills. That was all the way on Thanksgiving. Absolutely going in the Superdome and smashing the Saints. That was an impressive victory for them. I think they once again kind of reasserted themselves up at the top of the AFC. If we're talking AFC, Chiefs still will probably be there. Yeah, I mean, again, we talk about it every single week, and I don't want to harp on it as much, but the NFL, a lot of parity this year, right? There's a lot of teams in the mix for those final playoff spots. So it's going to be really interesting to see who takes, you know, who asserts their dominance. You know, the 2 teams you and I mentioned, Bucs and Packers, I think kind of took a step up above the competition this week.
Yeah, and I can attest to that. The Bills really came out and dominated that Saints team. I had the Saints spread. It was a bad week spreads wise in the NFL. Yeah, rough one. We won't talk about that much here.
Nope.
But still, yeah, the Bills looked good. And they got a big game this weekend on Monday Night Football against the Patriots. That's going to be a telltale sign for who we think could come out, win not only the AFC East, but potentially the AFC as a whole. Like you said, the Chiefs are bouncing back and look better. They were obviously on a bye last week, so didn't really see them play, but those seem to be the top 3 teams right now. The Ravens have kind of been faltering after Lamar Jackson's 4 interceptions on Sunday Night Football. But yeah, it would take about that. Now, final takeaway, New York Jets, wrong hand. They're back. Finally got a win. Win again. We got to win. Hey, Sam's not here, so I got to say it. New York Jets are back, baby. No, and joking, that was probably our last win of the season. That's fine with me. As long as the Seahawks keep sucking, then that's fine.
That was such a Jets win. You know, it was so ugly versus the Texans. I feel bad for anybody that watched a minute of that game. And I kind of want the time I invested in watching the Seahawks on Monday Night Football back. You speaking of bad teams, is it crazy to say, speaking of Jets and Seahawks comparison, I think the Seahawks offense at its state right now is a worse offense than the Jets. Call me crazy. They just couldn't convert on 3rd down. It was absolutely wild to see. You know what? they're in trouble in Seattle. Truly disgusting offensive performance till the very last drive when they, of course, everyone had to sweat out that bet if you were on either side.
Yeah. They can get lost, man. They really just did not give you any hope for Seahawks money line or +1 or whatever you got their spread at. And then, of course, they score a touchdown just to stab you right back in the heart. They turned the knife a little bit, and they were just like, you suck
Exactly.
it, man.
Exactly.
Yeah, you're right. I want my time back. I want my money back. We didn't deserve that. And I have to say, I don't think it's a hot take. I think Pete Carroll, this will be his last season coaching the Seattle Seahawks. Not that he doesn't deserve, to coach any longer, but it's just they need a change of scenery. They need a new coach in there, revitalize the system. And yeah, you're right. I mean, the Jets offense has looked better than the Seahawks past recently. And the Jets offense,
they can convert a third down.
It stinks. And I don't look at the final time of possession stats, but I know at some point it was 41 minutes for Washington and only 15 for the Seahawks.
That's crazy.
You're not winning games like that unless you get like 3 defensive scores, which Seahawks defense, it ain't like that. So, man, it was a weird week in the NFL again, but we're going to move on. And we're going to talk about some college football now because Sam doesn't follow any college football. So we normally don't bring it up, but Logan and I, especially Logan, he does the picks on the channel. So make sure you're showing more love on those. He needs some more views. He deserves it. He's been giving out you guys some winners. And this weekend we got conference championships. So we're going to talk about kind of the college football playoff as well as some coaching turnovers, because there's been a couple big coaching hires over the past couple of days. But I want you to talk about this past weekend in college football. What was your biggest takeaways from it and kind of go from there?
Yeah, back-to-back winning weeks on the College Football Picks channel. I'm just saying, thanks for the plug. We need some love over there, NBA and NFL. I get jealous of all those the attention the pro sports get. But you know what? We're gonna do well this weekend. But it was really crazy watching that Michigan-Ohio State game. You know why? Because I was in Columbus, Ohio, with my girlfriend's family. And I'm telling you, they were absolutely nuts for their Buckeyes, and they were down bad when exactly what I said was going to happen. Michigan is a team of destiny this year. That being said, watch out, Michigan. Iowa is nothing to be played with. I mean, Iowa's just a gritty, grinded out type team. I don't think they're going to roll over for Michigan by any stretch of the imagination. But we saw weaknesses definitely with a team like Alabama playing around with Auburn. I mean, that game shouldn't have been close. Yeah, I was on the wrong end of that one in my spread pick because, man, Alabama's offense just looked really stagnant. Definitely some holes there, and they got a big showdown with Georgia. I'm curious to know your thoughts. Yeah, I know you got a few ties to Georgia. What do you think is going to happen in that SEC championship game?
I've seen this story time and time again where Georgia Bulldogs look good. They look dominant, and then they match up against Nick Saban, who's might have been going up and down, and then they lose outright. And so it would not surprise me to see Alabama lose outright. And, if they wouldn't be something, I know people will be hammering Georgia. They're the wagon. They're undefeated. Hammer them every single time. They're going to win again. Their defense is, I don't know exactly the numbers. Their defense has given up 0 points all year. That's not the real number.
It's crazy.
But really, their defense has been dominant. You look at Alabama, that offense, what they score 9 points prior to overtime, maybe even less. Like they were terrible last week, and they do have some holes. But I think Alabama bounces back. Nick Saban, he game plans. They're gonna pound that stat. Kirby Smart, his ex-assistant, Nick Saban assistants, his record, blah blah. They're gonna spam that stat at least 25 times during the broadcast on Saturday night. So I'd probably ride with Alabama. I think it will be a good game, and of course, it will complicate the college football playoff. And that's exactly what always happens. You'll end up seeing Cincinnati get the boot out of it just because that's what they do to group of 5 teams or group of 6 teams to be. Technically group of 5 Power 6 conferences.
I'm glad you mentioned Cincinnati because I feel like somehow some way they are going to be left out of this. Again, I don't think it would be bold of you to say that Alabama could beat Georgia. I mean, Georgia, they've played a really solid schedule all year. But have they faced this big adversity kind of thing? Like, let's just say against Alabama, theoretically, they're trailing at halftime or something. Yeah, Alabama's been there before. They're a team that's well coached. I don't know. I'm just saying. I'm putting a little bit of doubt in that one. But yeah, look, a team like Oklahoma State, if they come out and press in their conference championship game, could leapfrog them and leave Cincinnati fans so hurt. Right? That those little guys, the non-Power 5 schools, they're definitely in a position to potentially get hurt. But the rankings were just released, and it is exactly how we had it on our pre-show list: Georgia, Michigan, Cincinnati, and Alabama as those top 4. So there's outside looking in. You got Oklahoma State and you got Notre Dame. And guess what? With Notre Dame, yep, coaching change. Brian Kelly, no more. What are your thoughts on that?
I'll go back to Cincinnati for a real second because I am rooting for them hard to make the college football playoff. As a UCF alum, I'll move my head and put the UCF alum flag. Yeah, I went there. And first, I got to say rest in peace to Otis Anderson. He did pass away last night, which is terrible. As he was one of the primetime players when, I mean, you didn't go to UCF, but you watched Otis Anderson a ton throughout his college career. So tragic accident that happened over last night. Monday night. So hate to see that. Pay my respects to his family and hope everything's okay. But in terms of college, let's get back on a positive note. I really want Cincinnati to make the playoff, but as a UCF alum, I know they always want to leave us out. So, if Alabama comes out and wins, they're going to put Georgia and Alabama in. Michigan, as long as they don't lose, they'll make it as well. All it takes is OK State to go out and dominate, and potentially Cincinnati to struggle against Houston. Wouldn't surprise me if they somehow sneak in and then Cincinnati and just face bombing their whole time. But as for Brian Kelly, talk about a weird kind of thing. Now, he's one of the bigger coaching changes. And I don't think, I haven't looked at 100% of his stories, but I don't think he's coaching the rest of the year. So they don't obviously have a game this weekend, no conference championship, but God forbid they make the playoff. Who's their coach? Do you know who their coach is? I know Oklahoma State, which we'll talk about Oklahoma. We'll talk about Lincoln Riley in a second. I know who they're filling in, but what do they even do if they make the college football playoff?
Well, I'm just going to say that the math isn't great for Notre Dame making the playoffs, but I mean, I'm looking at where he's going to, right? Obviously, he's leaving Notre Dame behind. I feel like Notre Dame's an attractive job, but they'll get a pretty good fill-in coach, potentially Luke Fickell of Cincinnati, what we've been talking about. That wouldn't surprise me one bit to see him go there. That's like a dream job for a lot of coaches. But Brian Kelly going to LSU, of course, is what we're talking about. Mm-hmm. And you know what? LSU is one of those teams that if you look at that's actually a national championship winning program, right? Ed Ogeron, that's his voice, right? He's just a raw.
Ed, is that you?
Yeah, I mean, he's not one of those coaches that you look at and immediately think intelligent. So if Ed Ogeron can get a national title, why not Brian Kelly? Brian Kelly's got the pedigree, certainly with Notre Dame to get LSU back to that championship type standard. So it's a really good hire if you're talking LSU. As a Florida Gator fan, I you know what, I'm a little jealous because LSU and Florida do play each other every year, but Florida did hire Billy Napier. I'm excited to see what he does with the Raging Cajuns. That was a really good program. He's obviously a program builder. Changed the culture of Florida. That's all I ask, right? Dan Mullen had a high flying offense. Not a lick of defense was played. So you obviously got to address the defensive side of the ball, and you got to stay up with recruiting, right? Georgia and Alabama have just been dominating the SEC recruiting pool. Florida needs to get back on track with recruiting. Billy Napier should be able to do that. Now, I'm curious, the last coaching big hire, Lincoln Riley to USC, obviously going out to LA. They gave him everything you could ever want and more. Yeah. All access to the private jet. We'll buy you an LA mansion. They really did give him everything. What are your thoughts on Lincoln Riley to the Trojans?
His contract and the tweet I saw was just comical. Yeah, you mentioned 24/7 access to the private jet. I was like, why? And then they also bought him a $6 million mansion. They're paying for his Oklahoma homes like $500,000 over asking price, so he gets $1 million bonus. I was just like, what is this? But hey, props to Lincoln Riley securing that bag. So not only one, he secured the bag. Give him a clap. Round of applause. Number two, he got the heck out of the SEC, which they're going over to in a couple of years. Exactly. And got the heck back into the Pac-12, which is such an easier conference. I don't care what, and I don't even like rooting for the SEC. I don't, off camera, we normally just call you SEC bias left and right, but exactly. They don't want the smoke in there. You look at Oklahoma the past couple of years under Lincoln Riley, it's all offense, no defense, and that doesn't work in the SEC. You can just ask Josh Heupel that, and he'll learn that over the next couple of years. You can't win just playing no defense. You can ask Ole Miss that. That's what Ole Miss has been doing all year this year. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So props to him securing the bag, getting out of the SEC and going to the Pac-12. Probably an easier, and he's all the way on the West Coast now. He doesn't have to recruit against the SEC powerhouses in the East. And California's got a lot of elite talent for football wise. So I'm excited for him. Can't blame him one bit for going there. I kind of feel bad for the program, Oklahoma, because I'm sure he's promised a lot of those top-ranked recruits. We're going to get farther and farther. We're looking forward to the SEC. I'm sure he played a big role in getting them to the SEC as well. But still, props to him. Can't blame him at all. I'm curious what he does with that USC program, which is kind of pretty much, I don't know their exact stats, but they've struggled over the past I don't know, 5 to 10 years. So excited to get them back to dominance because Lincoln Riley, one of the best coaches in the NCAA. I'm excited to see what he does with that program. And yeah, you're right. That contract, shake my head.
It's cushy, ain't it? Makes you think. Just why can't we be coaches?
Yeah, maybe
right?
we should
why
stop making videos and start going into coaching. I've seen like Brad Stevens, the general manager or whatever of the Boston Celtics. I think he started as like a grad assistant, slowly inched his way up. Maybe we could be Lincoln Riley. Yeah, why not us? That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but last point though, like you said, Pac-12 greater sign SEC as far as the cushiness of the job. Lincoln Riley definitely playing Oregon, right? Oregon and UCLA is probably going to be his toughest opponents in the Pac-12, maybe Utah. But yeah, it's definitely a great gig. Get out of town to Oklahoma, right? All those recruits are dropping like flies. So you kind of mentioned that. Yeah, that's college football. People forget about it. It is a business as well. It's not the pros, but it still is a business at the end of the day.
Yeah, and unfortunately, that's the name of the game, especially with the NIL and all these players earning contracts and stuff like that. Like that's adding a whole nother dynamic into college sports. So, we'll see. We'll see how the next 5-10 years transforms. We'll see how Oklahoma's program kind of transcends the next couple of years as they transition to the SEC. I mean, they still have that pretty good quarterback. What is his last name? Williams. He looked pretty good. Spencer Rattler transferring, getting out of town too. It's a weird day to be an Oklahoma Sooner fan, but I mean, you can't be mad. You guys had a bunch of dominant years over the past 5-10 years, especially with Lincoln Riley. So we're going to move on, kind of switch back into some NFL talk, but also answer some questions from you guys. And the first one we're going to start from, I thought it was funny, and it was from Sneakerhead, the Sneaker Nerd. Now, he sent me a ton on Twitter, but I'm going to start with his one that I thought was hilarious. And Logan, I'll let you answer it. Is the NFL rigged?
Well, if you're betting the NFL, you'll swear to yourself that it is rigged, right? That from a betting perspective, there's a lot of when you know the point spread. What I always tell my family who doesn't gamble, I was like, sit down and just look at these numbers for me. Look at the point spread, look at the over under, and tell me how they get it right on the dot like that. But I'm going to answer this in kind of two parts. One, I don't believe it's rigged from the player perspective, because to get 11 players on each side of the ball to rig it is absolutely, that's not possible. But there are some coaching decisions that if you're ever going to rig the NFL, you can say, right? I point back to the Eagles. Remember last year, and everyone's like, why did the Eagles go for 2? So many people got burned on that. Vegas made the call. Yeah, it makes you think though, right? Doesn't it? I mean, I'm not saying it's rigged by any stretch, but questionable things like that can make you swear it's rigged. But at the end of the day, these are grown men. These are millionaires playing a sport. So I don't know. It makes you not want to be on the side of the public, though, for sure.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Now I don't know if you're referencing this Eagles game, but I do know the one you might be talking about was the Eagles Buccaneers game earlier this season when they were 6.5 point underdogs. They were down 8. And they scored a touchdown to go down by 8 instead of kicking the extra point. They went for 2 for absolutely no reason, but they ended up covering the spread and losing by 6 points to the Buccaneers on Thursday Night Football. I remember that vividly.
Well, I was talking about the Eagles game. I think it was this Eagles Seahawks game of last year. Might have been a Monday night game, but I just remember everyone and their mother had Seahawks spread, and I'm pretty sure it was Seahawks. Don't quote me on that, but I remember it. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, same exact thing. But so I think NFL rigged in terms of player stamp. I mean, I'm not going to come on here and say, the NFL is completely rigged, but I could see an explanation for it. Not only the NFL, but also you could say the NBA. Like last year, I was just betting on the Rockets at the end of the year because their against the spread record was so bad that I thought that they would rig it to make them cover. And lo and behold, they covered like 5 of their last 6 games just because, that's how it be. But yeah, I think if you were to talk about coaching decisions and referees, because referees can really change the tide of a game. And I just think back to that Cowboys-Patriots game where the Cowboys were a wagon. They were absolutely destroying teams. They went into New England and they got every single call against them. And so you just kind of think, you're like, this seems a little fishy that they're getting, refs can make a huge difference. I mean, a holding call here and there can just ruin a drive completely, knock you out of field goal range, things like that. So really refs, would it surprise me in 15 years if we find out a ref was getting paid money to kind of throw flags on a team? No, it wouldn't. It actually would kind of kind of solve a lot of questions and puzzlements I might have in my head right now, but I just thought it was a funny question. So thanks, Sneaker Nerd, for launching the question our way. We're going to move on to another one from DeSantis. He launched me a ton in my DMs on Twitter. And he asked, which bet is more reliable, over-unders, money lines, or against the spread? And I'm going to kind of tackle this, and I'm going to go with money lines and kind of over-under plays. Now, I say money lines because, and it kind of speaks to some injury concerns that I always get in the NBA every single night. It's like we bet a spread, and then a player gets announced out, and then you're just kind of screwed on that. But I think money lines are a little bit more reliable, which is what his question was, because I think regardless of, if a small minor player is out or there, I still think those teams tend to win more often, but against the spread, these lines are so sharp. There'll be a 6.5 point underdog and it'll finish on 7 or 6 points on the dot. And there's nothing more frustrating than missing on the hook. So that's why I normally lean towards money lines, but also I don't like taking super juiced ones. So I think if you're at like a 3.5 point underdog, final probably lean towards a more reliable money line option, but same thing with over-unders. I like those. I think they're a little bit more reliable, just easier to predict in terms of game flow. I really don't like betting against the spread, but what's your answer, Logan?
Yeah, for me, it depends on the sport, right? If I'm betting baseball, which I was heavy in the betting baseball, I don't like spreads. In that industry, it's called run lines, and it's -1.5 either way. So -1.5, +1.5. I don't love that at all. That I would lean money lines for you for sure. But on football, I really do like spreads, and here's why. It kind of gives a blueprint of how I see the game going. Right now, take for example, like you were saying, the Cowboys versus Patriots. When I see a spread like that, I'm like, why is this number? Why is it the way that it is? And then I also like to look at where the public is, because to be honest, you can be a square spread better, and you will lose a lot more than you will win. That's just how betting is, right? Vegas looks the way it does because of suckers sometimes like us, but realistically, spread bets in football are definitely my preferred go-to bet, just because I can look at teams and I'm like, what spread looks off, right? Utah against Oregon in college football. Utah was favorites against the number 3 ranked Ducks at the time. And you're like, why? Well, you saw why. Utah blitzed them. So it really does come down to that. And yeah, over unders, I swear I'm always on the wrong side of the over under. Pick the over, pillow fight. Pick the under, 1 million points scored in the first half. That's just how it be sometimes.
Yeah, you do have bad luck on over unders, and I can't
terrible
blame you
luck
for that. I understand you have PTSD, and that probably triggered your response to this question. I guess I can kind of see your point now. Against the spread, it does kind of give, and it's normally how I look at my NFL spreads, which truthfully at the moment you probably don't want to tail me on any of those, but yeah, I can see, you see spreads, and that will even factor into my upset pick in a little bit, which I'll get into. But yeah, there's spreads out there every single day that just don't make sense. Like even today in college basketball, which we're recording this Tuesday night, so I have no idea how this game goes. But right now you have the Duke Blue Devils traveling to Ohio State. They're the number 1 team in the nation, haven't lost a game, taking on a 4-2 Ohio State team. Yet the Duke is only a 2.5 point favorite. Something seems fishy. Would it surprise me if Ohio State wins outright, upsets the number 1 team in the nation? Ohio State's not even ranked. Let's keep that in mind. No, because that's what the spreads say. Just kind of, when it looks too good to be true, probably because it is. So that's what the last thing I have to say. Now, there's another question he gave us was, when's the best time to place your bets? And I want you to tackle this one a little bit, and then I'll talk about it. He's not only talk about NFL, not only like for Sunday night game or Sunday games, but also NBA. I'll tackle NBA. You tackle Sunday for NFL.
Yeah. So NFL injuries in football are just so big, right? And especially in this weird COVID type situation, the last thing you want to do is spread bet a team and their quarterback's out, right? You've seen in the NFL, seen in the NBA, those two things overlap for sure. So I'm always tempted. It's like noon Eastern time on a Sunday. That's my favorite time to place a bet. Yeah, you know what? The lines can change all throughout the week, but you know what? That's just part of it, right? You can look at the line movement, and if anything, maybe it will help you decide which way you want to place a bet. So I definitely think Sunday morning. Sometimes you just wake up feeling dangerous, right? I just place a parlay and it hits, and I just said that's because I woke up feeling dangerous on a Sunday morning. I know it's corny, but for real, I definitely think closer to those kickoffs of the games in the NFL, you just absolutely have to.
Yeah, I can agree with that. And probably the same goes for NBA. Now, you see us getting wrong night in, night out for spreads in the NBA because, like even tonight, which, like I said, Tuesday night, you'll see people could have bet on the Lakers to cover, and then LeBron James gets announced out just 20 minutes ago, right before the game tips off. Like, you can't predict those things. And same for Damian Lillard. Like, we took the Blazers spread. I don't want the spread without Damian Lillard, their best player. things like that. So normally I would say for NBA, I'd wait for the lines to come out because really, or lines, as the injury reports come out, because really you don't know what's going to happen. And so if you would have bet like an Anthony Davis under earlier this morning, well, lo and behold, that line will now be like 3 to 4 points higher because LeBron James is out, and you probably got a bad line than what you could get it at the moment. But in terms of Sunday for NFL, it really could go either way because I could see both sides of the coin. Now you could bet early when like you think you have a big edge on a book. And then you could see like you could bet, I don't know, Nick Chubb's over on right when it comes out Wednesday at mid-afternoon. It could be 79.5 yards. By Sunday, that line could be 91.5. Like it's things like that you might think you have a big edge on, but then also random things can happen. Like, I mean, even for instance, my Kenny Golladay under. I know I took Kenny Golladay under 50.5 receiving yards this past Sunday. And then lo and behold, Kadarius Toney gets announced out for, I don't remember his exact reason. I didn't expect him to be out. The line goes up to 57.5, which you could have even gotten at better value. He cashed both of them, but it's things like that you really can't predict. So normally I say wait till probably the day of, right closer to kickoff or tip off, just to wait. I know you might be sacrificing some edge on some certain plays, but I think it's probably smarter, safe than said.
Yeah, for player props, absolutely. You get really big edges in the NFL. That's why you do your player prop research so early in the week, because you know how much those lines change by Sunday. So definitely, I would place those sooner than later. But spreads, yeah, those things fluctuate all the time.
Yeah, exactly. So we're gonna move on to, we got 2 more questions from you guys. The first one, we'll talk about Scott Snyder. He's a COS All-Star, so we got to answer his question. He asked, and I'll let you tackle it. Well, we'll answer 2 of these questions. Not only first one, how many sports books is a good number to manage? And number 2 from Eric Hausman on Twitter. Yes, best sports book that in your opinion. So I'll let you go.
Right. So for me personally, 3 is a magic number. I like 3 sports books, and if you know the 3 in the industry, it's the big 3, right? The FanDuel, the BetMGM, and the DraftKings. Those are my 3 favorites and my 3 go-tos. And you know what? As far as favorite sports book, I do default to FanDuel. It was also the first sports book I ever used, so I'm comfortable with that. What are your thoughts?
I would say probably you want to try to manage 3 or 4. Now, I know people in certain states don't have access to, those main primary books. And if that's the case, then maybe only 1 to 2 is fine. But you never know the lines that you're going to get. And that's why we're sponsored by OddsJam. We really appreciate all their support. And we'll have an OddsJam video later this Saturday, kind of showing more about their site. We also have a ton of sites we have a ton of videos about OddsJam, super useful site. But I would say 3 to 4. And yeah, I use the big ones. I use DraftKings, FanDuel, BetMGM, even Caesars is a pretty good sports book as well. All 4 of those are pretty good. They normally offer pretty good bonuses. So we actually have a bunch of different like sportsbook bonus codes. I'll put the link down below. It's actually on Dimer's website. You can go check it out and use those codes if you really want to see what they have to offer. But my favorite sportsbook probably be FanDuel. I really like their same game parlays and their alternate like alt player props, because I'm a big player prop guy and I love that they have all the alt lines. So in case you ever want to do a conservative play and not get caught on like the regular hook, and those are always good to kind of mess around with. So I would normally say FanDuel is probably my favorite, especially their same game parlay. I think that goes unnoticed. Now, DraftKings launched their own same game parlay option, but you do identical same game parlays on FanDuel and DraftKings. The odds are so much better on FanDuel than they are on DraftKings. It's really weird, like the math behind it. It makes no sense, but I would lean towards those books. Any other thoughts on that?
Well, it's about promos, right? If you're juggling multiple sports books, you're like trying to take advantage of promos on each, and all those sports books want your business. So you take advantage of them when you get a free $10 bet for a same game parlay on FanDuel. You do it, and that's the appeal, certainly, to having multiple books.
Yeah, and there's a reason that these promos keep coming out that are insane. Like, really go check out the dimers.com/COS link in the description, because you can just even peruse it. You don't even have to use the sportsbook links there, but they put out the promos, and some are like a $1,000 risk-free bet. Might as well send it out on something. You really never know what can happen. So if you have the money to kind of open up and have 3 to 4 to manage, probably smart for lines, because a line on FanDuel could be completely different from a line on DraftKings or Caesars or BetMGM. BetMGM is super slow to react to injuries as well. So normally that's why I keep them there, because like if LeBron James gets ruled out like he did on Tuesday night, they don't really remove those lines that quickly. As a FanDuel's already got it removed that before even LeBron gets announced out. They're like, what? Insider info for real. So the final, we're going to tackle this question. I'm curious if it was from, I don't know how to pronounce his name, Ahmad Reda. he asked for the most overrated NBA team. I was curious if you had an opinion on that.
Okay. So, we're early on in the season, but
yeah, we're about a quarter of the way through the season. So calling a team overrated now, we're only 20 games or so in.
Yeah, but I don't like how this team started, right? I don't like how the Los Angeles Lakers started. I'm just going to come out and say it, right? It's a weird experiment trying to fit Russell Westbrook into this already ready-made team with LeBron James. Obviously, he's battled some injuries this year. Anthony Davis, right? Everyone knows he has his own injury concerns. It's just a weird mix of players, to be honest. I think further expectations, right? The way I interpret this sort of question is like, which team is most likely maybe to be sent home early? And I really could see the Lakers, right? LeBron James can only do so much. Anthony Davis can only do so much. Russell Westbrook's a turnover waiting to happen, gets 10 of those per game. But I think them. And you know what? Early on in the season, against the spread, they're terrible too, right? I don't need to tell you that.
The worst team
betting Lakers, you're losing the shirt off your back. But I think early on, not overreacting a ton, but I don't like the way the Lakers have started.
I can respect that. Now, my most overrated team, and we're pretty far into the podcast, so we don't know how many people are still listening. But if you are a fan of this team, I'm sorry in advance. I'm gonna say the Chicago Bulls. And I could say my New York Knicks, but truthfully, I don't think my Knicks are that hyped. But I think the Chicago Bulls and their fans are a little bit overhyped. So I want to temper expectations. Now, they're currently sit second in the Eastern Conference. They're 14-8, and they're 6-4 over their last 10 games. So they kind of faltered since their early on start. I just don't think this team has as high of a ceiling as people and fans might think. Now, when I think about this team, I think of like a 5-6 seed. They're going to be behind the Nets. They're going to be behind the Bucks. And I think probably the Heat as well. And you never really know about the Sixers once they get healthy. But I just don't think this team is as good as they have been playing so far. Now, I do like Lonzo Ball. I like the additions they made. Obviously, Lonzo and DeMar DeRozan are playing super well. LaVine's playing well. And obviously, Nikola Vucevic out there cashed our best bet of the day on Monday. So wrap it up for him. But still, it's just a team that I don't necessarily think is as good as their record indicates. And I think as the season goes on, that will show. This is a team that is just not, I just don't, they're good defensively, but they just have some holes and they don't have a lot of interior size. So I see them going up against a team like the Bucks, team like with the Giannis that they don't have anyone that can match up even close to Giannis. They used to have Patrick Williams, their star second-year sophomore, who was very good defensively. Well, he's out for the season. So it's tough to see them beating a team like the Nets or a team like the Bucks consistently in a 7-game series, even a team like the Sixers, who hasn't played well in this postseason, but we'll see. That team's still new. Same with the Miami Heat. So I'm not going to necessarily say the Bulls are trash. I'm not going to say that. They're still make the playoffs. They're still a very good team. I would just say as a Bulls fan, if you are a Bulls fan out there, temper expectations, because I think they've gotten off too hot of a start, and I think they're due for a little bit of regression.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Look, we're early on in the season, right? Just pump the brakes a little bit, right? It's hard to just jump in with a team piece together like they were and just be good all of a sudden. They're starting out really good. I love what DeMar DeRozan is doing, right? Obviously with the Spurs, he's just doing that night in, night out quietly, but he's getting more press obviously with the Bulls. So yeah, I can't disagree with you at all on that.
Yeah, DeMar DeRozan's been great. So props to him. He's had a really kind of resurgence. Not that he was bad with San Antonio, but a resurgence of like, hey, let's go get at basketball, guys. So good for him. But let's move on to week 13. We're going to give our upset picks, talk about Sunday and Monday Night Football, and then we'll wrap up the show. And Logan, I'm going to let you start with your upset pick. Now, last week you missed, but you had a chance. You had the Vikings. It wasn't as bad as Sam's pick, the Titans. That's why we had to give him the boot off the program. But I'll let you kick this one off this weekend.
Yeah, I've been up and down on these upset picks, right? At least I'm getting close, right? The Vikings were in the same zip code of a win. Titans not so much. But this week I'm going with a team that looked terrible last week, terrible on Thanksgiving. Yes, the New Orleans Saints plus 172 versus the Dallas Cowboys. Look, this is the Thursday night game, and I just absolutely think this game is going to be a big Taysom Hill game, right? I'm not quite certain of his injury status, or I'm not quite certain where he's at, but he's slated to start. At the time we're recording this podcast, he's slated to start. And I think he's going to give Dallas defense some problems for sure. I like that offense actually run by Taysom Hill a little bit more than the Trevor Siemian scramble and do whatever the heck he's doing. They don't have any wide receivers. The problem is with the Saints, they don't have the weapons needed to be an aerial assault team. So what do? You just ground and pound method. You win ugly with a Mark Ingram. Don't know if we're getting Alvin Kamara back, but we're gonna see an ugly type game. Saints playing at home, obviously got the home crowd behind them. Obviously, playing the Dallas Cowboys with a banged up Zeke, right? We're not sure of his injury status either. Plus 172, that's decent value for the home Saints in this one.
Yeah, I like where your head's at. Saints wronged me last weekend, so I'm ready to get wronged again. I'd ride with your spread in this one. We'll see exactly what I go with on Sunday or on Thursday Night Football, because we'll have a separate video probably posted later tonight on Wednesday night. So definitely check that out if you haven't already. But I like the pick. Now, last week I cashed. Gave you Broncos. You didn't have to sweat that. They were up like 28-7. Broncos plus 130, plus 140 winner. That was just an easy game to pick. The Chargers are just a weird team, although the Chargers probably win this weekend against the Bengals. But my upset pick makes no sense. So close your ears, or not close your ears, just close your eyes, listen up, because it stinks. And we're riding with the Pittsburgh Steelers plus 176 against the Ravens. Now, on paper, this game is just barf bag. It's a barf bag, because that's what this pick is. It's a complete stinker. But these are two teams, a lot of history together. And Big Ben last week, yeah, he was terrible. He was absolutely abysmal. The Steelers got absolutely boat raced by the Bengals. If you bet Steelers money line or even plus 3.5, whatever their spread was, you should Venmo request them your money back, because you wouldn't even have a chance. It was like Sam bet Steelers as his upset pick. That's how bad they were. But
Got him.
I still think they got a chance this weekend, because here's why. This spread, this fits the category. It makes no sense. You got the Ravens. Sure, Lamar Jackson, 4 interceptions, Sunday Night Football didn't look good. They only covered because Ryan Mountcastle was in attendance. But they still are the better team than the Pittsburgh Steelers. But I think the Steelers, they got beat up. They're going to bounce back in this one. They're at home, where Big Ben, I don't know his home road splits, but I know on the road he ain't good. But at home, he's much better. We'll be at home. Now, I don't think they'll get the running game going. Probably bet Najee Harris's unders. But still think that the Steelers will bounce back and win this one. Now, I don't think they'll be. I think TJ Watt will be out this game. I think he was put on the health and protocols list. So don't love that. But I'm going to ride with the Steelers plus 176. Give it to me. I'm riding with them. I think they've upset the Baltimore Ravens just because it makes no sense.
Yeah, you're struggling to convince me on it, but the only blind faith I would have is that the line doesn't make sense, and you expect probably people to be heavy on Ravens, right? This is just a blind fade the public type pick, Obviously, what we see in these division games, though, kind of like what on Thursday Night Football, where anything can happen, weird outcomes happen. Same happens with divisional games. Steelers versus Ravens. You mentioned the history there. Yeah, it wouldn't shock me one bit actually to see the Steelers win in this one. Yeah, it's hard. It really is hard to disagree with you. If we're just doing some straight up.
The pick stinks. The pick stinks from just looking at it. It's just like, do I have a ton of confidence in the Steelers? No. Will I make them an official play in the video? No. I'll probably just ride with their money line and hope for the best. But so I think they have a chance in this one. And Mike Tomlin, one of the best coaches in the NFL, and after a big blowout, I just think he'll rally the troops. And Big Ben can't possibly be worse, right? He can't be worse than he was on Sunday. It'd be tough for him to be worse. I mean, it would be really tough. So we'll see. Lamar Jackson did struggle last weekend, so we'll see how they do. But still, it's the Steelers at home. You never can count them out. And yeah, you're right. It's a divisional game. You never know with those. You saw last weekend, like, you had two teams going in the opposite directions. You had the Eagles trending up, Giants trending down. Giants won outright. They were the home team. Just never know with these divisional games. So I'll ride with the Steelers in this one. Now let's move on to Sunday Night Football and Monday Night Football when we wrap it up. Sunday Night Football, we got Broncos versus Chiefs. Broncos traveling, taking on the Chiefs. Don't know Teddy Bridgewater's status right now. Chiefs minus 10, over under 47.5. What's your pick?
Yeah, so I'm kind of going back and forth on this one. I don't know of Teddy Bridgewater's health status at obviously early in the week. But I'm going to take Chiefs minus 10. And I know that's a lot of points to lay against obviously a divisional opponent like we just spoke about. I like what I've seen from their offense. I don't think the Broncos have the offense to get, if this turns into a shootout, RIP Broncos, RIP anyone that bet them, because I think this one could get ugly. They just have a lot more offensive talent. I trust, look, it's contrast to styles here. You got a team that prides themselves on defense, running the ball in the Broncos. You got a team that just wants to go aerial assault in Chiefs. Yeah, I just think the Chiefs flat out outscore them. Would have shocked me to push this one though. Minus 10. That looks about right, Vegas. I think you're doing a good job on this one, but I would just go ahead and take Chiefs minus 10.
Yeah, I can see where your head's at. I don't necessarily want to make a spread pick in this game, but I think the under. I would take the under in this one, because look at the Broncos. You're right. The Broncos offense, not the greatest in the world. And the Chiefs offense, despite their talent, they haven't really been scoring a ton of points recently. And so sure, they're coming off a bye, and I don't know Andy Reid's record off a bye, but that would normally lead me to take the Chiefs -10 because I think they cover pretty frequently. I don't know Andy Reid. I'm sure someone will tweet out Andy Reid's status after or against the spread after a bye. He's normally pretty good.
Of course.
One of the best in the NFL, but I like the under just because the Broncos, I think, will rely on that run game and that defense to keep them in this game. And the Chiefs defense quietly hasn't been terrible over the last, 3-4 weeks. It's been middle of the pack to pretty above average, kind of quieting that Cowboys offense 2 weeks ago. Now, granted, they were down Amari Cooper, banged up Zeke Elliott, and of course, CeeDee Lamb gets knocked out with a concussion. So not a lot of guys really out there for the Cowboys, but still, I'd like the under, and I'd lean towards the Chiefs. Maybe do a little bit of like a same game parlay teaser kind of with the Chiefs -3, and then the under 54.5, something along those lines. I think we got a chance in that one. So we'll see.
Yeah, I like it.
Football. Let's move on to Monday Night Football. Then we'll wrap this baby up. It's like we talked about earlier, Patriots traveling, led by Mac Jones, traveling to Buffalo to take on the Bills, led by Josh Allen. Logan, I want you to take away because you've talked about both these teams pretty frequently. And although we do not have Sam, I'll give a spiel right here. Mac Jones, best quarterback in the AFC East. Take the Patriots +2.5. You'll get free money.
Yeah, well, that and Sam is what we like to call a square better in this one, right? Is somebody that's going to lose you some money and sell you bad information. The Bills are going to win this game. The Bills are going to cover. Why? Well, first of all, they're playing at home. Obviously, Buffalo has a pretty good home advantage in there. And if you're just looking at the spread, they just lost their top corner, Tre'Davious White. All the logic and all the common sense says pick Patriots. They've been playing so well. Bill Belichick is just rolling. But you know what? Josh Allen is due those types of performances that made him such a favorite to be the MVP. And actually, I think he's like second or something behind Brady. So he's still up there, and he's still that offense is capable enough to certainly give the New England's defense some problems. Now, I mean, that being said, who are they going to take away, right? The whole Bill Belichick thing is we're going to take away a weapon. Well, okay, fine. You take away Stephon Diggs. That's okay because you still got Emmanuel Sanders. You still got Dawson Knox. They have enough talent offensively to outscore the Patriots. And you know what? If the Patriots are playing from behind, that's not a position they want to be in. I think game flow in this one is going to dictate it. I'm going with Bills -2.5.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. And I'm as I make my spiel, I'm looking up Josh Allen's record against the Patriots. But I do think when you look at this game on paper, I can see why a lot of people would ride with the Patriots. I don't know their margin of victory the last 5 weeks, but they've won 6 games in a row. Won, I think, the last 4 by 20+ points. They've dominated teams. And you're right, Bill Belichick has been scheming up defenses like there's no tomorrow. And he's been on a roll, and they've been dominating teams. They just blew out the Titans, which Titans were without their 3 best offensive weapons. So whoop-de-dee. But still, I think the Patriots are due. Mac Jones has to be due a bad rookie performance. He just has to, and it could happen against this Buffalo defense. I mean, Buffalo, sure, they're down Tre'Davious White, but still one of the best defenses in the NFL. Still have Tremaine Edmonds, one of the best covering linebackers and tackling and really run stuffing linebackers out there. Still have elite corner or safeties as well. So I could see the Buffalo Bills. I'd ride with the -2.5. Just think, they'll find a way. The last time they were at home, yeah, they got beat down by the Colts. So they can't come out and get beat down again. They just can't. You can't do that to your fans 2 weeks in a row or 2 home games in a row. So I'd ride with the Buffalo Bills. Now, the Bills have won 2 in a row against the New England Patriots. Now, the last one they did win they won last year in November, same time frame. They won by 3 points exactly against the Patriots. So I was with Cam Newton at the helm. So
yeah,
you don't love that.
No, it's certainly, it's certainly one of those, like I said, it's a contrast of styles, right? We know what the Patriots want to do. It's kind of like, all right, it is kind of like the Titans, right? I question the Patriots' ability to play from behind, right? If the Bills get some explosive plays early, can't you see, the Damian Harrises and the Ramondre Stevensons, that type of offense doesn't work. If you're trying to put the ball in Mac Jones' hands too much, he still is a rookie quarterback. Could the Bills scheme up something for him? Absolutely. That's why I am trusting Buffalo in this one. I understand all the signs, and everything points you to Patriots, but sometimes you just got to dig a little bit deeper. I think that's what we're doing here.
Yeah, and I totally agree with that. Now I'm looking at the stats from last year, so pardon me looking to the right. Now, the last time they played in Buffalo, I think the New England defense was just completely fine, we'll let you run the ball. You can't pass it, because the Buffalo Bills ran it more than I think they've ever ran it under Josh Allen at the helm. They had Singletary and Zach Moss with 14 carries apiece. It's Josh Allen 10 himself. They only threw it 18 times compared to 38 rushing attempts. I have never seen them do it that much, and we'll see. We'll see how it pans out. And you're right. I think that's the Patriots team very similar to that Titans team. Once they get down, I just don't have a ton of faith in Mac Jones to come back, especially against a very good Buffalo Bills defense. It'll be one of the best games of the week. Glad we finally get a good Monday night football game, because
finally,
Seahawks Washington football team, that I can get lost. That game sucked. That was miserable to watch. And I didn't even watch most of it, and it was still miserable just even seeing it on my timeline.
No, I hear you on that. Finally, a couple primetime games. I like the Sunday and Monday slate this week. We're in for a treat this week. I'm certainly excited.
Yeah, there's a lot to be excited about, not only for football this weekend, but also for the Call on Our Shot channel. Because like I said, we passed 14,000 subscribers. We have our live stream coming back. I didn't mention it at the beginning, but live streaming back every Wednesday, powered by dimers.com. Check out the link down below. Dimers is sponsoring the Call on Our Shot channel. We appreciate them. Like I said, we have a Sportsbook landing page there that you can go check out. Maybe get some free bonuses for you guys just for signing up for different sportsbooks using our links, exclusive sign up bonuses. But yeah, there's a lot to be excited for on the Call on Our Shot channel. Any final thoughts, Logan?
No, well, I just kind of what you're mentioning, the whole live stream thing. That's kind of the full circle of everything. That's what you started with, and it's only fitting that we're bringing back the live streams. This is a very exciting time to be part of Calling Our Shot. I love this community. I love doing these podcasts for you, and all you loyal people that have been with us and I this time. Again, thank you guys. We're growing so fast, and it's just such a great time to be a part of this channel.
Yeah, it's a great time to be alive. We did not expect this much love and support you guys continue to show. So keep sharing it keep make sure you're downloading the podcast wherever you get your podcasts. That link is down below in the description, as well as that link to Dimers landing page. But yeah, there's a lot. We'll be starting the live stream just so you can mark it on your calendars every Wednesday, 6 p.m. Eastern time. We're going to be just for about 30 minutes. We'll talk about NBA betting picks, talk about my slate versus other things I've considered. We're looking at Dimers projections on their website. We'll be doing a lot of fun things, and it's going to get better each and every week. So we'll be doing it the rest of the NBA season. A lot to be excited for. And we're closing. Hopefully we can hit 15,000 subscribers soon. We're going to get a final push to say today is December 1st as we're posting this. So it's December, final push, 31 days. I don't think we can get to 20,000 subscribers, but we'll be danged if we don't at least try our best.
Yeah. I love where we're heading. 20K on the horizon. I love it.
Yeah, fun things to be excited for in 2022. Maybe even some Call on Our Shot merchandise coming in soon.
Ooh,
who knows?
Don't tease me like that. Jeez.
Hey, I'm saying all of the tips come out once we get rid of Sam. That's all I'm saying. You just never know.
Yeah.
But I appreciate you guys for tuning in. Thanks for tuning in the whole podcast. We appreciate you guys. If you're this far into the video, comment below. I don't know. What do you want them to comment down below? If they're watching on YouTube, that is.
Yeah. If you're watching it on YouTube, comment your favorite sports team. I want to see everyone's favorite teams out there.
Yeah, I like that. So comment your favorite sports team. Go Jets. This has been the Call on Our Shot podcast. We'll catch you guys again next Wednesday. Hopefully we have Sam back. If not, we're going to keep riding it out. We appreciate you guys. Click that subscribe button, download the podcast wherever you get your podcast. It's been Austin, and for Logan. We'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.